Hi, it's Jordan1, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this cute little Loomigurumi Easter basket. So here's what it looks like from the top view, and here's what they look like from the side. So the one I'm going to be showing you is actually the one on the left, and I put some candy in this one just so you could see that it's a little bit small but still has plenty of room to fit some Easter candy. And it's also a good size for an egg, so I have to actually be super careful because this one is not a hard-boiled egg, so I'm a little bit nervous. I don't want to break it, but you can see that it is a perfect size for that. Of course, this is just a plain boring one, but if you do any really neat hard-boiled decorated eggs, it would be a perfect size. So I think that they are relatively easy to make, and they don't use too many bands, and of course there's many different color options that you can choose for your own basket. To make your basket, you're going to need a hook of some sort, so I have the Rainbow Loom metal hook. I'm going to be using a twist tie just to help me get my magic ring started, so that is optional, but it is very helpful, especially if you're new to Loomigurumi. I'm going to be using some clips, or you can use stitch markers. And then as far as my band counts, I'm using all Rainbow Loom bands. So I have 236 white, and then all of my colors are glitter bands. The purple I have 57, and they came out of the Twinkle Dark pack. And then I have 63 turquoise and 37 pink, and those came out of the Twinkle Bright pack. I'm going to begin by making a magic ring of 6, so for that I have 7 white rubber bands. So I am using this twist tie just to help me get the magic ring started. So if you're using one, you just want to put it right next to your hook, and then you want to take your first band and you're going to triple this. So it goes on, twist, back on, twist, and back on. So you're going to have 3 loops, and then you're going to take your twist tie and pull it about halfway up and then bend it in half. So what the twist tie is doing is it's helping keep these 3 loops together, and it's also giving you something to grab onto. So if you don't have the twist tie, you just need to use your fingers to pinch those 3 loops together. So then one at a time, you're just going to pull through those 3 loops, get the other end back on. You'll have 2 loops, one through the other. And then from front to back, you're pushing through those 3 loops. You're going to take your second band, it's going to pull through, get the other end back on, and from now on when you do that, you're going to have 3 loops, and the end one pulls through the other 2. So back through, you're going to bring your third band through, one through the other 2, and then your fourth, your fifth band, and then one last time, you can now remove your twist tie, and you're going to take your clip or stitch marker and put this on the band that's on your hook. So all that's doing is letting us know where the end of the row is. And then you want to try and straighten these out, get them as evenly spaced here around the loop as you can. And so you're going to have a total of 6 stitches. So a stitch is, if you look to the side of your magic ring, there's a little sideways V, that's a stitch, and you should have 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the last stitch is always the one that's on your hook. In row 2, you're going to need 12 bands, and I have them laid out in piles of 2 because we're doing an increase into every stitch. So you're going to go under your first stitch here. You're pushing from front to back under both loops, and we're doing 2 into every stitch. So it just pulls through back on. You have your 3 loops, one through the other 2, back through that same stitch, and you're pulling through your second band. Over to the next stitch. Again, we're doing an increase into each one. So back through that same stitch a second time. And then just continue to repeat. So a lot of times we start with an increase in every stitch on your second row because we're just trying to grow the base here. And for this design in particular, since we're doing a basket, we definitely want the bottom to be as flat as possible. So your last stitch in every row is always going to be where your clip is. So I'm going under this very last stitch. You should have 2 bands left here. And then when you finish each row, you just want to make sure you take your clip or your stitch marker and move it so you're all set up for the next row. So we've now increased our stitch count to 12. So if you count around on your stitches, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and number 12 is on your hook. In row 3, you're going to need 24 bands, and we're going to do an increase in every stitch again. So again, we have 2 for each. And as I said earlier, we're just really trying to keep this as flat as we can and widen it out. Now this is going to be the last row of the bottom of the basket. But if you did want to make a larger basket, you could continue with the rows, and then you would build up your sides, starting with whatever stitch count you end on with your base here. So you would not keep doubling the count every time for your base because that's just going to get too many bands. It's going to be overcrowded and then it's not going to lay flat. It's going to start to get wavy on you. So you will have to keep doing pretty many increases, but you'll have to space them out a little bit. So we have 2 stitches left here. And again, the last one is always going to be where your clip is. And so now we've increased our stitch count to a total of 24. In row 4, you're going to need 24 bands, and we're going to start to build up the sides of our basket. So we're doing 1 single crochet into each stitch, but just in the inner loops. So up until now, we've been going from front to back under both loops. But for this row, we're going to go just under the first loop, the one that's closest to the inside. You're just going to push under that 1 loop, push out the middle of the V, and you're doing a regular single crochet. So I'm going to be using white for my entire basket, But if you wanted a different color, you would switch that now. So again, just that inner loop. And you will feel as you're building this that it is a little bit looser. When you go under just one loop, you'll feel that your bands don't feel as tight. And the reason that we're doing this is because we want to get the sides of the basket to now grow upward. So this just helps to get a more solid transition. And if you feel like it's a little bit crinkled, don't worry about it. We will smooth it out. I like to just run my fingers along and smooth everything out after I complete every row. I can tell it feels like they're getting kind of bunched up here. So I'm down to my last few. And then here's where my clip is. So then you're just going to take a couple seconds and smooth this out. And then you can see what I mean, how this is now going to angle upward. In row 5, you're going to need 24 bands, and we're doing a little bit of a different stitch. This is called the back post single crochet. So this is what's going to form that horizontal chain that runs along the outside of your basket. So this is going to be for the bottom row of that. So up until now we've been going inside the stitch from front to back. The back post single crochet actually works from the back side, or what's going to be the outside of your basket, and it actually goes around a post. And the post is in between the stitches. It's this vertical part. It's these two vertical loops, and we're going to be working around that. So I'm actually not going to connect to my last stitch here, my last band. But you can see that this has gone in the inner loop of this stitch here. That was the last one in the previous row. We're going to start in that one. We're going to go from the back side, and I am going to go in through that stitch under both loops from the back side, and then I'm just going to move over to the next stitch, and from the front side I'm going to push out. So what that is going to do is make this post pop right up on my hook here. And I'm just going to pull through, get the other end back on, and pull one through the other. And now you're always going to go down this same opening you came up through, from the back side through that stitch, move over to the next, pop out that. You'll see your post go right up on your hook, go underneath that, one through the other two. Again, back down through the same one, out through the next, and single crochet. So it may sound a little bit difficult as I'm explaining it, but it really is quite easy. You're just going down through, back up the next, and single crochet. So it should be very apparent. That post should pop right up on your hook. And if you see a bunch of other bands or it doesn't just easily pop up, then you know that your hook has gone through something that it's not supposed to. Should be a nice and smooth transition. So if you happen to have made my Loomigurumi cake or my Loomigurumi cupcake, I use the same stitch, and I think it's pretty neat. It gives it a unique look, makes it nice and decorative. And the other thing that I like about it is if you make anything with Loomigurumi, at least anything that you want to stand up on its own without having it stuffed, it can be a little bit flimsy, the rubber bands, and by adding this stitch it just reinforces and gives it that much more support. So I think it makes it much more sturdy. You can see here with the part that we've done how solid it looks. Just a couple more left. So here's my last one, and I want to make sure that I go under both loops here. So I'm going in, and even though we only have one loop hooked on the previous row, I want to make sure I'm going under both loops of that stitch and doing that single crochet. So the only other thing we have to do here is we have to get this loop to go down inside and connect to our next row of stitches. So what I'm going to do is actually take this off of my hook, but leave it in my fingers, and from the inside here I'm going to push out through this last purple stitch. I'm going to grab that loop on my hook and pull that through. So that's just going to complete this circle here. And then I'm going to just take my clip that's already on my first, or actually my last, white band from the previous row. I'm just going to attach that. In row 6 you're going to need 27 bands, and we're starting with an increase followed by 7 single crochet, and then that's going to repeat 2 more times. So you should have your clip that has 2 bands on it, and what you're going to do is take your hook and make sure that you go through both bands, and then I'm going to take my purple band, or whatever your color is from your last row with the back post single, and you're just going to take your clip off of that. But you want to leave the clip on your other band just so you can mark the end of that row. And then I'm going to go through the next stitch over to the left here. So you can see we've already gone through the one that's straight above the hook here. So it's the next one over. I'm going to go under both loops, and this is going to be an increase. So I'm pulling through the stitch and then also through that other band. Get the other end back on. I have the 3 loops and 1 through the other 2. And then I'm not going to go through the purple again. I'm just going to go through the stitch, pull through my second band, so now we have 7 singles here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then in this next stitch we're doing our next increase. and then it's 7 more singles here. So I'm not going to bother to count these out. But I find if you have your bands laid out ahead of time, it makes it so much easier. Of course, I always do this for my tutorials, but even when I'm not filming, I like to do that. And then in that next stitch, I have my last increase. And then you should have 7 more stitches remaining. It's going to take us right back to where our clip is. So the nice thing about this pattern is that the bands work out evenly as far as the spacing. So finally I'm going under my clip, stitch, and then I'm just going to move my clip. In row 7 you're going to need 27 bands again, and this is another row of the back post single crochet. So whatever you want your next color to be, so I'm going to keep mine purple. So once again, we're not going to connect this to the last band, but we are going to go in through the same stitch from the back side. You're going to push through that opening, come back out the next. You'll see your post on your hook, and one through the other, and down the same one, back out the next. And we're just going to repeat that the rest of the way around. So I decided I'm going to do 2 colors next to one another, 2 of the same color. I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to alternate the colors or not. And of course, if you wanted to, you could use more than one color per row. You could alternate colors within the same row. I'm using these glitter bands for all of my accent rows here, and I'm noticing, not terribly, but some little pieces of glitter that are sticking on my fingers. It seems like even if there's just one piece of glitter, it always seems to wind up to stick to your fingers or wind up sticking somewhere on your face. And if you hear any noise in the background, it's actually my heat pump. I say this in a lot of my tutorials, but hopefully I won't be saying it for long because spring is right around the corner. Hopefully the warm weather is coming. We actually had a few really nice warm days. Now it's back to being really cold today, so it's kind of a bummer. I have my last few here. So I'm going back to the start. And again, I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. Just going to take this off and leave it in my fingers. From the inside, I'm going to push up through here, this opening, grab that rubber band, pull it through to the inside, and then I'm just going to attach that onto my clip. In row 8, you're going to need 27 bands. It's going to be your inner basket color. And so I have my 27 white bands, and it's just one single crochet into every stitch. So I think I'm going to go ahead and let you do this on your own, but I will just get it started with you. So again, here you have your clip. So what you want to do is pick up your white band or whatever your last stitch was in that previous row, and then your color band. I'm going to just take the color band off the clip, and I'm going to leave it on the white for my stitch marker. And then once again, if you look to your stitches, you can see where your last one ended, so you need to go through this next one, pushing through that, and I want to make sure I'm pulling through the stitch, and then through my purple band here, back on the hook, and one through the other two. So now it's just a matter of going around doing one in each, and just make sure you're only going through the stitch and not through any of the other part of those outer loops. So as I said, I'm going to let you just complete this on your own. So just continue doing one in each, and I will see you back here shortly. Row 9 is going to require 27 bands again, and we're doing another row of the back post single crochet. So once again, we're not connecting to our last band, and you're going to go in that same stitch where your last band was from the back, and go push out the next, and you can see that I've decided to change colors here. So I think everybody probably should feel pretty comfortable now doing this stitch if you're new to doing it. So this color that I'm using here came out of a pack that's called Twinkle Brights, and as I said earlier, I'm using all the glitter bands. And the purple, not sure which pack that came out of, a different pack. I'll have to look to see which one that one is. And then the pink that I'll also be using came out of the Twinkle Bright pack as well. So I tried to pick some nice springy or Eastery colors. But you can really make this basket for anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be for Easter. You can just make a basket without a handle or with. And I actually have my baskets that I made, I'm not sure if it was last Easter, I think it might have been, it was either last Easter or 2 Easters ago when I did my puff stitch Easter basket. I actually use those for my clips, and sometimes I use them for rubber bands if I have just a few that I'm working on. If I have a project I'm doing and I just need a little bit of a band holder for just a few, I'll throw them in there. I think it would also be good for paper clips or safety pins, something on your desk at work. actually really love this color, this turquoise. It's so vibrant. So here I have 2 left, and same thing like always here. We're going to have to finish off this row. So again, let me just hold this in my fingers. I'm going to reach up through, pull it through to the inside, and then I'm going to attach it onto my clip. In row 10, we're going to do 3 more increases, so we have a total of 30 bands. So the pattern is an increase followed by 8 singles, and then just repeat that 2 more times. So once again, you need your hook to go through 2 loops here that are on your clip. And I'm going to take off my turquoise band. And again, you want to move over to your next stitch. We're doing an increase to start. So the first one's going to come through the stitch and the loop, back on, and then back through that same stitch. And that's the increase. So now we have 8 single crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're doing an increase in the next stitch. And then once again we're going to do our 8 singles. So again, it's nice that the pattern is going to work out evenly, so we can get these spacing of our increases nice and even. You can tell that I've already messed up my bands a little bit from the pattern here. And then we're having our final increase in the row. And then I have 8 bands left. As I said, they kind of got messed up there, but I do have 8. Here's my last few. Last one where my clip is. In row 11, you're going to need 30 bands. So this is going to be another row of back post single crochet. Again, I'm not connecting this, so I'm just going in this first stitch here where we did our last increase from the outside, and then just continue to work around here. So as I said, I decided to do 2 of the same color next to one another. So hopefully I'm happy with the end result. So far I think it's looking pretty nice. It's always a lot of guesswork into deciding which colors to use and what's going to look the nicest. And it is very frustrating when you choose colors and then you spend hours making something and in the end you're not real happy with it. So unfortunately that's the way it goes sometimes. I think that this Easter basket is going to be a nice size for either just some really small candy, or you could fit a decorated hard-boiled Easter egg in here, or maybe like a Cadbury cream egg, if you're familiar with those. I'm sure that that would fit in here nicely. So I have my last two here. Again, back to the start. Take this off my hook, reach up through, pull it through to the inside, and attach on the clip. You need 30 bands for row 12. It's going to be 1 single crochet into each stitch, and this is your inner basket color. So I am going to let you do this row on your own, but I'm just going to get it started with you, even though I'm sure you know the drill by now. Just get both of these bands on your hook, release the one outer color, go to your next stitch over, and that first band is pulling through the stitch, the other loop, and then it's one through the other two. So then it's just a matter of doing 1 single crochet into every stitch until you get back to the start. So you can pause here and finish that now, and I will see you back here shortly. In row 13, I'm using 30 bands, and we're doing the back post single crochet again. So you can see that I'm now changing to pink. So one final time here for the back post. We're going to start here. We're not connecting. And I'm just working my way all the way around. So you can get a good view of what the final outside pattern is looking like. So I think it turned out pretty cool. I think those are some nice Easter colors. And then the final thing we have to do is to make the handle. So that's actually quite easy. It's just a matter of making a chain, and then adding your accent color. I was actually considering making a larger basket, but I know that when I make these creations and start to film the tutorials, I always think, oh, they're not going to turn out that long, and then they all usually wind up being at least an hour long. So if I was to do a much larger basket, you can imagine the amount of time that would take to film. Also the amount of bands that would be needed. But if anybody does do anything on a larger scale, please share a picture with me because I would love to see it. I think it would be kind of neat to make like an actual large Easter basket size. So again, let me just pull this to the inside and attach. In row 14, you're going to need 33 bands, so we're doing 3 more increases. So it's an increase and then 9 singles and then repeat. Now I'm just going to get these 2 loops on my hook, and I want to unattach the pink one, go through this next stitch over, starting on that increase, through the stitch once again, and then we have our 9 singles this time. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then our second increase, and then repeat with your 9 singles. I'm kind of struggling with this row. My hook just doesn't want to go where I want it to. It's getting kind of late here, and I've been doing this for a while, so I think fatigue is setting in. And then the next one gets an increase. And then that should leave 9 stitches left. So you will notice on the back where the rows join, even though we did make it as seamless as we can, it does have a little bit of a different look to it. see, and it does slant because every time you do a row, it moves the end of that row over one. So that's why if you are doing different colors, why you can get a cool diagonal pattern, the way that I did with my cupcake wrapper. So here's my last one. Once you've completed the row, we have to tie off this loose end. So I have one additional band for that. So I'm just going to go to the next stitch over, and I'll take my very last band here, pull through everything, get the other end back on, and pull one through the other. Can take off my clip, and I'm going to pull this nice and tight to make a slip knot. And then you just want to go on the inside and just work your hook under some of these inner bands. And then you can just grab the loop and carefully slide it under. So you may have to go through several just to get it completely hidden. You'll need 20 bands to start the handle, so it's going to begin by making a chain. So we have to space this out evenly. So you want to find about the center point of the back. I know this goes in a diagonal here, so there's not an exact point. I would say try to get about in the middle of that. And I'm going to count over 8 stitches. So this last one here in the previous row, I'm going to count that as stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's where I'm going to begin. So pushing from the inside out, grabbing my first band, just getting both loops on my hook, and then this is just a matter of chaining. So a chain is very simple. You're just pulling the band through and grabbing it back on your hook. So we're going to do a total of 20. And of course, if you wanted a shorter handle, you could do less. A longer handle, you can do more. And you'll notice as you're forming it, it is pretty floppy. Does not hold its shape. But when we add the next bands, it's going to really help it to keep its form. So I have 2 more. So now what I'm going to do is to remove this from the hook, just pinch it in my fingers, and I need to space this out evenly, so I'm going to count around 16 spaces. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So on the 16th stitch from the outside, I'm going to push through, and I want to pick up 1 loop here, but what I'm going to do before I do that is just to make sure that this is completely straight. So I'm just going to run my fingers along this, make sure that it's not twisted at all. So I'm going to take the one side of the loop, pull that through, and then I'm going to come out the next stitch, 17th stitch, push through, grab the other side and pull that out. So now I just have that coming out, 1 loop in each stitch, and I'm going to pull 1 through the other. So I'm just going to leave that on my hook for now, and then I'm going to get set up for the next part. Now I have 19 bands that I'm going to finish making the center of the handle with. So I have it laid out in the pattern that I'm going to follow. I have 3 purple, 3 turquoise, then I have 7 pink, then 3 and 3, and then I have 1 white that I'm going to use to tie it off. So what you're going to do for that is, again, just make sure that this is totally straight here. And what you're going to do is go in through the center, push down through, and then come back out the center of the next one. So it's almost like when we do the back post single crochet, that sort of same concept. So I'm taking my first band, I'm going to pull through everything, get the other back on, and one through the other. And then down through that same chain, out through the next, and here's my second one, and repeat. So it's fairly easy. I guess the hardest part is just making sure that you're keeping it nice and straight and that you're going down through the right side. Make sure you're going through both loops. So now I'm switching to turquoise. Going to do 3 of those, and of course whatever colors you think matches what you've done in your basket, you would kind of try and replicate that pattern on your handle. So now I'm doing my pink in the center here, and the nice thing about this is this is going to really help your handle to hold its shape, because as I said before, with a chain that is very flimsy and that definitely would not stand up on its own. But when you add this to the center, it's really going to make it a lot stiffer. And it also makes it pretty. So that's important. So it's all my pinks. I feel like I'm caught up here. Now I'm back to turquoise. And then purple. So that's going to be a total of 19 then. Even though our chain was 20, you actually lose a stitch here by doing this. So this is going to take you back to where you started. And then we have that one final band, whatever your basket color is, that we need to attach this. So I'm just going to take my hook out and I'm going to reach from the inside, kind of the same concept we've been doing throughout, and pull it to the inner part here. Go under 1 or 2 stitches in the middle and then pull through everything and make a nice and tight slip knot. So again, just like we did before, just going to reach through some of these inner loops and take your rubber band, take that loop, and hide it inside. So you can do that for as many times as you need, and then you can work on the handle, get it nice and straight, and it should stand up fairly well, and then your basket is complete. I hope that everyone loves their new little Loomigurumi baskets. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook. You can post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that way you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to post your pictures and comments there too, and you can subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!